This has to end. Now.
Can the Spider-Man come out to play?
So it seems like there's some big news swirling around the corner regarding the Hobgoblin movie in Tom Holland's Spider-Man universe. Here's the lowdown on the MCU theory. Spider-Man 4 might just be the one to introduce Hobgoblin, but hold on to your web shooters because it might not be Ned Leeds behind the mask. And hey, while we're at it, Spider-Man 4 could be setting the stage for a standalone Hobgoblin flick in the MCU, so let's dive into it. So after the wild ride of Spider-Man No Way Home, the stage is set for Spider-Man 4 to introduce the notorious Hobgoblin. But here's the twist. It might not be Ned Leeds, played by Jacob Batalon, donning the villainous mantle this time around. Tom Holland's Spider-Man isn't hanging up his web shooters just yet, and the aftermath of No Way Home is paving the way for some seriously epic storylines, with bigger baddies in Peter Parker's future. We know Holland's Spidey is swinging back for another trilogy, but the specifics of Spider-Man 4 are still shrouded in mystery. With the events of No Way Home shaking things up, Spider-Man 4 is primed to take our friendly neighborhood hero back to his roots as a street-level crime fighter. As for the next big bad, well, that's where things get interesting. The rumor mill's churning with speculation that Ned Leeds might finally transform into the Hobgoblin in Spider-Man 4, especially now that he's got a case of memory loss when it comes to Peter. But here's the kicker. Spider-Man 4 doesn't necessarily have to turn Ned into a villain to introduce the Hobgoblin. In the comics, Ned was just a red herring, and the real Hobgoblin was someone entirely different. Intriguing, huh? Roderick Kingsley, also known as the real Hobgoblin, made his debut in Marvel Comics back in 1980 in Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man number 43. However, it wasn't until The Amazing Spider-Man number 238 in 1983 that he was revealed to be the infamous Hobgoblin. Kingsley was no ordinary character. He was a billionaire, a socialite, and a fashion designer with deep ties to the criminal underworld. His wealth was amassed through shady business dealings and corporate raiding, making him a man with many enemies. In his quest for power and protection, Kingsley stumbled upon Norman Osborn's secret lair, a discovery that would change his life forever. Determined to distance himself from the madness that plagued previous Green Goblins, Kingsley adopted the persona of the Hobgoblin. Using Osborn's equipment and notes, he blackmailed influential figures and even attempted to acquire Oscorp to expand his own empire. Despite his cunning tactics, Kingsley lacked the raw physical prowess needed to best Spider-Man in combat. Even after developing a strength-enhancing formula, he still found himself on the losing end of their battles. His nefarious activities drew the attention of formidable criminals like the Kingpin, and he even joined forces with the Sinister Six at one point, led by the Iron Spider. Kingsley's tenure as the Hobgoblin was fraught with conflict, both with Spider-Man and with the dangerous underworld figures who saw him as a threat. In Spider-Man 4, the MCU could introduce Roderick Kingsley by incorporating elements of his pre-Hobgoblin backstory. In the comics, Kingsley was Mary Jane's employer before his transformation into the Hobgoblin, and this aspect of his character could be adapted for the MCU. Following the events of No Way Home, where MJ and Ned were accepted into MIT, MJ could find herself working for a new employer while attending school. Roderick Kingsley could be introduced as her new boss, setting the stage for his eventual transformation into the Hobgoblin. Given that Green Goblin's weapons crossed over into the MCU in No Way Home, it's plausible that some of these objects were left behind after the events of the film. Kingsley could stumble upon these weapons and be inspired to craft his own villainous persona, unaware of the madness that consumed the previous owner. This twist would add an intriguing layer to Kingsley's journey towards becoming the Hobgoblin in the MCU. While introducing Roderick Kingsley as a potential Hobgoblin in Spider-Man 4 is a compelling idea, it doesn't rule out the possibility of Ned Leeds also taking on the mantle of the Hobgoblin in the MCU. In the comics, Ned Leeds becomes entangled with the Hobgoblin after stumbling upon his lair, where he is captured and brainwashed by Kingsley to serve as a decoy. Similarly, in Spider-Man 4, the MCU could explore a storyline where Ned Leeds encounters Kingsley and becomes unwittingly ensnared in his schemes. Kingsley could manipulate Ned, brainwashing him and using him as a pawn to deceive both Spider-Man and the criminal underworld. This would introduce a complex dynamic for Spider-Man, as he must confront his brainwashed best friend while also uncovering the true mastermind behind the Hobgoblin persona. By incorporating both Roderick Kingsley and Ned Leeds into the Hobgoblin narrative, Spider-Man 4 could deliver a multifaceted storyline that keeps audiences on the edge of their seats. In the comics, Roderick Kingsley, a corporate fashion designer, stumbles upon Osborn's hidden arsenal after his demise. He refines the Green Goblin formula and becomes the Hobgoblin. These parallels are further underscored by a golden goblin mask alongside the original green one in Harry's new hideout. While numerous characters have taken on the Hobgoblin mantle in Marvel Comics, the distinctive visage and orange attire are consistent identifiers, hinting at Harry's potential transformation. However, this anticipation is left unfulfilled, paving the way for Ned Leeds to potentially assume the role in Spider-Man 4. In Marvel Comics, Ned Leeds is a significant figure as Hobgoblin, initially portrayed as the original before being retconned into a pawn of Roderick Kingsley. Given Ned's proximity to Peter in the MCU, his descent into villainy becomes a plausible narrative avenue, particularly after the events of Spider-Man No Way Home. Previously, the absence of an MCU-specific Norman Osborn made Hobgoblin's emergence challenging, as the character essentially co-opts Osborn's villainous legacy. However, with Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn entering the MCU in No Way Home, this hurdle is overcome. Instead of introducing a new Osborn late in the multiverse saga, Hobgoblin serves as a fitting compromise. Moreover, Ned's burgeoning interest in sorcery sets him apart, aligning with the Mordo-trained Hobgoblin of the comics, potentially wielding magic instead of traditional weaponry, further distinguishing him from Willem Dafoe's iconic portrayal. While it's possible that a solo Hobgoblin movie could be developed within the MCU before Spider-Man 4, there hasn't been any official announcement or confirmation regarding such a project. However, considering the rich backstory and potential narrative depth associated with the character of Hobgoblin, it wouldn't be surprising if Marvel Studios explored this avenue. Additionally, introducing the character in a standalone film could provide a deeper exploration of Hobgoblin's origins and motivations, setting the stage for his eventual appearance in Spider-Man 4 or other MCU projects. Ultimately, the timeline for a solo Hobgoblin movie within the MCU will depend on Marvel Studios' future plans and announcements. And that's a wrap for today's video. With Marvel gearing up to unleash a wave of exciting new content, there's plenty to look forward to. Stay tuned, as we'll be keeping you in the loop, ensuring you're always up to date with the latest happenings. Don't miss out on our next update, where we'll dive into more details about Andrew Garfield's upcoming Spider-Man movie. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. Feel free to leave your suggestions for future videos in the comments below.